Kind of an interesting development over the weekend now. Georgia is the favorite to win the national championship. That's coming from our friends over at Caesars. Georgia, before the Alabama loss, was actually slightly behind Alabama at plus 180. Bama was at 160, plus 160 to win the national championship. And as of today, Caesars has it that Georgia's at plus 140 and Alabama at plus 200. So if those numbers make your head spin, those are only those are just chances or the money that you would have to lay down in order to win back bets. I like to live in the world of percentages, and as soon as Alabama lost that game, you knew that this would happen. That the likelihood of them staying as the prohibitive favorite to win the national championship would go away. But just over a weekend, you've got Georgia going from 180, which is about a 35% chance to win the national championship, to 140, which is 41. So maybe not a giant jump, 6%, but it really dropped Alabama 160, which was 38%, to 200. And 200 would give you about a 1 in 3 chance. So, that's 2-to-1 odds for people who are really odds folks. So that's from our friends at Caesars. And here's what Adam Pullen, the assistant director of trading for Caesars, had to say. He said that Alabama is going to always get a ton of respect. So even with this loss to Texas A&M, that's why there isn't a bigger gap between them and Georgia. If they run the table, talking about Bama, they're still in the playoff. When I was trying to come up with odds, it was clear that there just wasn't going to be that big of a jump, since one loss doesn't hurt Alabama as it would as much as it would other teams. And here's the interesting point. When it comes to the SEC championship game against Georgia, it'll be close, but I think Alabama would still be favored. I'm not as sure that will be the case in a few weeks. Now, they both got to get there, and that path for Alabama is a lot dicier than Georgia's. I mean, when you look at Georgia's situation, obviously they're playing Kentucky this weekend at home. If they win that game, there won't be anybody. They would have to lose 2 games, and one of them, I mean, it would be a mess for someone other than Georgia to go to the SEC East to represent the East in the championship game. In addition, there's just not a lot of games for Georgia to lose. I mean, you got the Gators, Missouri, and Tennessee that are remaining on the schedule, and Georgia will be double-digit favorites in all of those games. The game in Tennessee perhaps is a little bit more interesting than it once was with the way the Vols are scoring, but let's just see how they get through their stretch of Mississippi, Alabama, and I think they have somebody else left before they play the Dogs. So that's one thing, but I do think Georgia should be the betting favorite to win the national championship right now. I mean, Alabama's got a fair amount still in their way, including Georgia. They are in a must-win situation in Atlanta right now for sure. If they get to Atlanta, Mississippi would be in that situation. Auburn obviously would be in that situation with already having 2 losses. Arkansas with 2 losses would have to win the SEC championship to get into the playoff. So the path for Alabama, now that they've lost to Texas A&M, who also would need they'd need Alabama to lose one more time, and then they would have to keep it clean the rest of the way. It's just going to be tough for all those teams to do that. The team with the best real shot at this thing from the West, to me, is Auburn, because they've not played Alabama, and that game's at home. So Auburn's not really started their SEC schedule. The game against Georgia doesn't really hurt them because it's in the East. But the Dogs are undefeated. You still got Ohio State, who's got landmines with Penn State, Michigan State, all around them. The Big Ten certainly is a problematic situation for all of those teams. So it cannot be surprising that this Georgia team is in position to be the favorite. And it's going to bother a lot of Georgia people for Georgia to be considered the favorite. That bothers Georgia fans. They're not good at that. But all you have to do is look at the team on the field. I mean, Georgia has been the best team in college football so far through 6 weeks. And that their path involves possibly not even having to win in Atlanta to get into the playoff, that makes more sense that they would be the odds-on favorite to win the national championship. You know, you take a look at everything here. Iowa is in the Big Ten West, so their path to Indianapolis, I guess it is you know a real simple one, I guess you could say. For everybody else in the Big Ten, you know, they got a real fight on their hands. Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, they got to all play one another. The only other team that I think really could be dangerous in all of this is Oklahoma. And I say that because they have changed quarterbacks, or seemingly have changed quarterbacks, and there's not a ton in their way. They still will have to play the Big 12 championship game, but that's not the challenge of all these other teams. Clemson is not. There is no one in the ACC that matters in any way. Notre Dame has eaten a loss. Cincinnati, of course, is still hanging around. But the best team right now is Georgia. The best team moving forward in terms of the ability to get to the playoff is probably Georgia. Oklahoma is probably right there with Georgia in terms of who should be able to get to the playoff. You know, the Sooners are undefeated as well. So I'm not surprised that Caesars did this. I want to see how we develop here now. You know, Georgia's going to get stronger as this season goes on. Their offense will become deadlier. People like you know, Dominic Blaylock are going to be back. You're going to get Rosemary Jack Saint, Burton. They're all going to be healthier as time goes on. And you've got these freshmen, A.D. Mitchell and Ladd McConkey, who are ripping up teams down the field. So it does make sense that Georgia is favored to win the national championship. But when Caesars sent me that information, I did want to make sure and pass that on with the thoughts. And if you look at the landscape of college football right now, it totally makes sense that Georgia would be listed as the number one betting favorite. They're the number one team in the country. They have the clearest path. They've earned this. You know, they've got 2 wins over top 10 teams. They've got 3 wins over ranked teams, and they're playing another ranked team this week, and they probably will play a ranked Florida team and possibly could play a ranked Tennessee team here coming up soon. So they continue to move forward in a way that really you don't have a lot of doubt about the games that they're playing, should they win or not. That seems clear to me that they should win, and if they keep winning, it makes sense that they be the national championship, the betting favorite to be the national championship winner. We'll see what happens, and we'll see you over on dogpost.com.